And so I dove into this because it was a bunch of things kind of that led to just that phrase. It comes down to every human is worth it. They're worthy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Polaris Connection, your podcast that connects parents of autistic children with industry experts and proven results. I am your host, Brad Broyles, and I'm here with my co-host, my early learner explorer, Nathan Palmer.
Does that mean I'm early on the road or that I've got a lot of potential, Brad?
You do have some potential there.
Either way, glad to be here as always.
We're all crossing our fingers.
Hopefully I make it someday.
And today we are joined also with our with Starlight Behavior's director, Haley Palmer.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We have two Palmers in one time. Like, how did this happen?
Nepotism was not involved.
No, it was not.
I was not the only one trying to get Miss Haley to join our team. She's been a fantastic ad. She did marry my cousin, full disclosure.
Oh, okay.
And I attribute a lot of early Polaris success to Haley. She's the one that connected us to Rachel Krupe, who's our lead BCBA and Director of Behavior Services. Cannot thank Haley enough for just the early guidance in helping make all this possible. So,
well, not only did Haley do a great job with early helping us out, but she's also an early learning expert with our amazing young kiddos. Haley, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I've been first of all, thank you for that introduction. That was very sweet. I've been in the autism field and early childhood education for about 14 years now. I have worked in-home, in clinic, in public school, in private school. I loved all my experiences. They all taught me something. And so my background is in early childhood and special education, so birth through third grade, and my degree is in special education and applied behavior analysis.
And you went to the great University of
Arizona State.
Go Devils. So no, thank you. That is amazing. And you have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
Correct.
There from Arizona State. And then how did you get involved from that? Where was your first, experience? Like, where did you start your career?
Oh, anyone who knows me knows that in high school I was probably babysitting on the weekends.
You were that person.
I was the community babysitter. I've always kind of worked with young children. I did my service learning in Mesa Public Schools. I actually was going into elementary ed, and they put me in a special ed preschool placement. I fell in love, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yep.
And then now, and this is the second time we've had you on the Polaris Connection.
Yes.
So welcome back to our newer studio, and we're going to be building out a newer studio. And then when we do, we'll have you back on again.
I can't wait.
Awesome. So now, a lot of our folks don't know the difference between an early learning center and daycare.
Yes.
Can you help explain the difference?
Yeah, so daycare is open to the public. It typically is ran by a director, and then the qualifications to teach those classrooms are typically a high school diploma and a clear fingerprint card. They do have some certified teachers in there, but it's not required. For an early learning center, and I can speak specifically for Starlight Behavior Academy, our ratios are much smaller. It's more of a 1-to-4, 1-to-5. They're ran by special education teachers, and we have registered behavior techs in the classroom. So it's for a registered behavior tech, they have a minimum of 40 hours of training just in behavior management of a classroom, which in the early years, that's primarily what we work on. We work on those early skills, school readiness skills, and lots of social emotional regulation.
Wow. Well, so then with that being said.
So what I'm hearing is it's not just preschool.
It's not just preschool. It is not daycare. We are very intentional with our instruction. I would honestly say 98% of our students in the classroom have programs. So what that looks like, it can be acquisition programs, not just behavioral ones. We focus on all behavior.
Hang on. I'm going to be the lay parent that says, I heard two types of programs and I don't understand what either one is.
Yes.
I heard a behavior program and an acquisition program. One sounds like a grocery list and the other sounds like you're misbehaving. So
yes.
educate it. What are those?
So On any given day, our registered behavior techs and our teachers are working. Acquisition is really those attending skills, those pre-readiness skills to get them ready to be in a classroom. And behavior goals are not always just the maladaptive or not so great behaviors. We focus on all of the behaviors. We focus on sharing. We focus on turn taking. Everything is very systematic, and it's been really cool to just see those graphs trend in the right direction for this first year.
So let me be the lay guy again. So what you're saying is an acquisition program it's like a skill upgrade program.
Correct.
So I'm leveling kids up on intentional skills that they need to be successful. And the behavior program is helping them learn to be more productive learners, to act and behave in a way that's consistent with that.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Wow, well said.
Thanks. I try.
You're a fast learner.
See, he's our early learner.
I'm early to, I'm going to ask lots of these questions. And the reason I ask Haley is because as a dad, even with a kid on the spectrum, when you first proposed this idea of an early learning center, I think my response was, what's that?
Right. It was.
And we were a little late to the game in autism. Not that we missed things, but our son was our first. And so we didn't have that benchmark of, what does a normal child look like? And we were a little caught off guard because I didn't know what I didn't know. Okay. And so we missed the whole exposure to early learning center initiatives. And I didn't even realize that was a resource out there or what the gaps were within that field. So I'm going to ask a lot of those questions. I think there's a lot of parents that maybe were in my shoes that are just wondering, what are the choices? Because what a lot of them are told are, oh, you have a diagnosis, your child's young, you just need to go clinic and sacrifice academics. And they don't know that there are other things out there that can be alternative pathways for their kids.
Oh, what would be different between a clinic and an early learning center that parents would see?
Oh, the level of support, hands down. We have, there are other early learning centers and they are amazing, but ours specifically has a BCBA on site. I have not seen that out in the community. I feel that, especially with, it's funny that you say that you didn't see the thing, I'm trying to think
Call
of
it
the
the
word.
signs?
Yeah, the signs early on. I actually have more parents than not come to me with social media. They see a post and they're like, hang on, my kid does that. Haley, do you think my kid has autism? I've had family members come to me, and I'm not a doctor, but I'm always open to have that dialogue with families. Back to your question, our early learning center is very intentional with how we approach speech, how we approach behavior, how we approach sensory integration. You go into a regular daycare, and it's a sensory overload. And it's very similar to a public school where it's not built for the kids. It's for the kids to come in and figure it out with very minimal support. And so we, specific to Starlight again, are very intentional with how we introduce a classroom to a child or a family that are on the beginning of their autism journey. It's their first time letting their baby go into another environment that's not with them. And so we're very, very intentional with making sure that they feel good, they feel safe, and they're having fun.
Well, and then what are those, kind of going back to your question before, when you do get these questions from like a social media post or, hey, early intervention is so critical. Well, let me ask you that way. Why is it so critical to know about early intervention and like the brain development of the child and their long-term success?
Yeah. In the first, I remember in college learning that from years 3 to 5 is when the brain is developing the most. And so that always stuck with me because that's a lot of pressure on a teacher to make sure that we're giving them what they need in that amount of time, especially as a mom. Even as a mom, I'm like, okay, this is my window. I got to get their foundation. But really, it does set them up for success. Our entire philosophy is early intervention. It helps with language development. It helps with social, emotional. We are the beginning. So we take students as young as 18 months. And it is so humbling and exciting to see just in 6 months how far they've come, just socializing with peers where they might not have had that opportunity.
Well, tell me that statistic one more time. So how much percentage of their brain development happens when they're young?
Well, I don't have the exact percentage, but I know that just in between ages 3 and 5 is when they develop and get those foundational
most.
skills.
Yeah.
And
No
I'm
pressure,
going to
though.
jump in here for a second because we had our son diagnosed after that period. And the first time I heard that statistic, I can remember feeling defeated because I thought we missed our window. And I just want to
now
put it
there's
out.
no hope. We're
Well,
gone.
because it feels that way. That when you listen, if all you heard was the majority of that development happens between ages 3 to 5 or 3 to 6, and you're entering this world at 7, 8, 9, 10, you go, well, will I ever have the same chance again? Did I miss it? Am I forever like now? You get reflective as a parent. Did I miss the ball? Did I screw up? Have I negatively impacted my child for the rest of it? Is this on me? And I just want to put out to parents that period, and because I've geeked out on that because I've wanted to, one, relieve some guilt on my side, and two, understand what it really meant. It's directed more towards brain plasticity or brain pliability. And all that means is the brain itself is more open to change and structuring. Not that it is no longer available for that later in life, but it happens easier during that phase.
Correct.
And so you can get, I guess, a lot farther, a lot faster because the children are open, they're not questioning, they don't have a lot of those defensive walls, they haven't put up a lot of those trauma behaviors, and they're able to incorporate data and methods more quickly. But if you're a parent like me that it's your first, or for whatever reason it presented later, or you just didn't know what you didn't know, it's not that the brain can't continue to learn, it does. And it continues to grow and develop, and it continues to be able to intake new data. And these therapy interventions, the ABA, the OT, the speech, are specifically designed to help to rewire those neural pathways in intentional ways. And it's why, as Polaris and Starlight, it's why that is such a core part of our academic model. So don't hear that statistic and be scared. Don't get down on yourself. But if you are in that phase, know that that is an opportunity, and that there is such a great window to be able to take advantage of it if you know it's a resource available.
Well, and again, it just shows the importance of your work, that those that are now in that system or in that time frame, that you have a great amount of impact. So I can just feel the excitement and the pressure from you.
But I'm here to tell you to give yourself grace as well, Nathan. Even if it's that kind of that thought of better late than never philosophy too, of like, you provided such a warm and safe place for your son so long that you didn't see those characteristics, or they weren't as a parent. And that is a complete tribute to how you parented him. And so I wanted to point on that too.
One other fun statistic while we're talking about brains, personal story. We had I've got 4 boys. So my boy on the spectrum, he's the oldest, but I've got 3 others, and they are all unique in their own way. And I remember we were driving, and there was these kids. If you've ever seen those e-bikes, they almost look like little mini motorcycles. And they were driving them on the road in a residential neighborhood. We were coming up to like a speed bump, and they were right behind us. We were worried they might run into us, and instead they just split, zoom around both sides, go in front, completely breaking all traffic laws. And I remember my wife says to my boys, your brain's not fully developed until you're 26. So just be conscious not to do dumb things like that. Do you understand? And my little 11-year-old, without missing a beat, no, Mom, I don't understand. I'm not 26. So full development doesn't cement until your mid-20s.
Yeah.
So you've got time and you've got grace, and they are smart, and they do develop, and there is a window still beyond the 3 to 5 to make an impact.
Boys are fun.
And it is funny because
Mom.
Because I have 6 kids, and I have a few that are in the teenage years, and it's just funny how like they go from like being smart and responsive and responsible to now they hit their teenage years, and they kind of like go away for a while. Like, who are you? Like, and then they come back a little bit later. It's just funny how the human development happens. So
it actually would be fun to do a whole episode just on the brain and brain hormones and chemicals and how to play with those dynamics, because I could geek out on that for a while, and it's kind of become this little side passion project of understanding just the neurological distinction, because that's what autism is. It's a condition. It's a neurological condition. It's not a behavior disorder. The behaviors come from the way they process data, take data in, and interpret it. So it's almost like this new language, and it's been fascinating. So maybe we come back to that another day.
Well,
But you brought in the
let's
brain
get our producer
content,
on
so
right away. Okay,
cool.
Jesse, make that happen. Okay. Okay, but
Back to
Starlight.
early learning
All
centers.
Right. So, what are some like 3 core principles that you believe every early learning environment should follow?
Oh, I love this question. It was actually really hard to narrow it down. For me, structure and predictability is one of those core principles that I go by. Specific to autism, everyone wants predictability in their day. Predictability does increase that felt safety in the classroom. Just think about if you woke up one day and you had no idea what was on your agenda, but people are telling you, oh, you need to be here suddenly. That would probably heighten your anxiety. It's the same for our students. If you were to walk into any of our classrooms, they have the exact same routine every single day, and that's very intentional. We will switch out the activities each day, but our students know what to expect any day. And that's not to say that we don't pivot, because we do. But the more your students and your staff know the predictability of the day, it's much easier to get back on the tracks if you ever get off of them.
Well, and that's a good distinction, Haley, because all the time I hear and I see you need structure, you need rigidity because they can't function without it. And I almost sometimes have looked at that as handcuffing them to empowering them in this permanently disabled world. What I love about what you said is we give them that so that they have felt safety. And that's a term we've used, and what it loosely means for new listeners, it's just getting you out of that limbic brain or that fight or flight response. It's making you feel safe in your environment.
Yep.
When it's triggering, you're not in a place where you can learn. And anybody that knows this, when you've gotten upset or you've gotten triggered, it's like your IQ drops 50 points. You're not able to process. You become responsive and reactive versus proactive. Right? That's that back of the brain section that people, and sometimes kids on the spectrum live in. It's this trauma response. And so what you're saying is you've designed the program to pull them out of that part of their brain, so they're receptive. But within that space, now you're doing intentional pivots to teach them how to adapt, to teach them how to adjust.
Absolutely.
But in a space that they already feel comfortable, that felt safety. So
yes.
Cool.
And there are times where we'll go to a different playroom intentionally, and we'll prime them and we'll tell them, hey, today's going to look a little different, but we're here for you. We're going to do it with you. Because something that simple is overwhelming for our students. And so it's very important that we are teaching them how to cope when we pivot.
Cool.
Other principles? Or,
Yeah, so student
I
dignity.
think we did one.
Yes,
right?
one is structure and predictability, and then student dignity. And
Okay.
so I dove into this because it was a bunch of things kind of that led to just that phrase. It comes down to every human is worth it. They're worthy. And so regardless of their action status or condition, even if they're small children, a lot of times we expect kids to do and perform better than most adults. They have high expectations, especially in a classroom setting. And so giving them the dignity and autonomy to have a choice in their day, giving them the tools for self-advocacy, and just honoring all forms of communication, not looking at them like they're little soldiers or they are little human beings, and it's important that we treat them that way.
I love that. The compliance defiance model I see so prevalent in general ed because, listen, we have high ratios in general education where teachers are having to lead 30 plus kids, and it is complied or and it's structured like almost like militarism, right? Where you will follow my command.
Yep.
Yeah. And but you almost, just for their own safety, you almost have to have that approach. I love that you're talking about their student dignity and advocacy because really it is about them. Yes. And I think that that speaks to something we've touched on in the program a few times, and we've had, I think, a few different listeners all hit it, and that's there's no bad children. Nope. They don't think from a place of I am bad and I'm trying to be bad and I'm trying to harm and I'm trying to cause disruption. They are sometimes in reactive states, right? But through all of it, the phrase I've really latched onto is behavior is communicating. Behavior is just communication. So what we would see is they're misbehaving. It's not that they're bad. They're telling us something through behavior. And that phrase, student dignity, is where you're saying, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, where we're going to decode what it is they're saying and how do we meet their needs, not how do we force compliance. So I love that.
Well, so then let's go over the next core principle. And then what I like to do is let's spin that of how we can take these core principles to the parents' homes.
Okay.
Like ideas that you're like, okay, here's the principles that we bring out with Starlight.
Okay.
And then, hey, parents, here's how you can do these core principles in your own home.
Okay, so my third one was individualized instruction. Everything we do at Starlight is individualized, from their programming to their individual schedules, whether that be visual or verbal. We break all of the skills into small, achievable steps, just so that we can celebrate every win, big and small. We focus on student interests, but are very careful not to overpower those student interests. If they let us into their world, we're very respectful of that, and we use that to guide our instruction. And then just using, again, any form of communication. Piggybacking on the last core principle, they're not giving us a hard time, they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
And it is our job to figure out how we can support them, and that can lead to further independence for the learner. We use AAC devices, we use visuals, just really behavior is communication. So when it comes down to giving them that form of communication that's functional for them, it's a game changer.
Well, wonderful. All right. So now let's go back to principle number 1.
Okay.
And then how would we...
structure and predictability.
Yeah, so how would we do structure and predictability in our own home?
Because, hang on, I am really anxious to hear this because I get with a staff how you can pull that off at school. As a parent, please, I would love more structured predictability in my home.
My house is super structured, Nathan. What about yours?
I will be real with you guys. I'm also a mom. My son has severe ADHD, and my daughter, she's fun.
And then you're married.
And I'm married, so I have 3 children. Just kidding.
You have a husband. That's another kid.
Yes. And so I will say, I've always joked, I have more control in my classroom than I do at home. And I don't think that's abnormal. Lots of people don't have to take their work home with them, so I give myself grace too. I was that mom that had a very strict schedule when my son was 2. We never missed a nap because I like structure and predictability. Let me tell you, having your own kids will humble you really fast. I will say that our structure looks very different at home. It's not to say we can't have it. It just looks different. We have some non-negotiables like bedtime, bath time, all of those things. We do more of rituals. So what that means is we do sing songs for certain things. Like when we wake up in the morning, we sing a song, or at least I do. And then at nighttime, we read a bedtime story. So it's not an extra demand on me as a mom. It's just an opportunity for connection. So I tried to think about it, and connection is the curriculum for home.
Oh, I love that.
And that really spoke to me because you don't need an extra thing when you're home. And you don't need, parents naturally, especially moms, overthink everything. And we take it on ourselves to make sure that our kids are meeting milestones. Did we give him enough veggies? He won't eat veggies. How do I sneak it into a pizza crust kind of thing? But I feel like the less demanding working on those things at home is, the more successful you'll be. And if you can take bath time, if you can just be intentional with connecting with your kid, whatever that looks like, even if it's just being with them, that matters.
So listen, what started as a really heavy thing just got super light for me as a dad, because what I was fighting with this principle at home, and while I get it in a school, is that, yes, I'd love my kids to have more structure, but I also want them to be independent. And that is a hard coin to fight, because it's like 2 different sides. Do what I want, but do it for your own reasons. But be individual, but listen to me. But be independent, but follow my rules. Like that dichotomy is so hard to navigate. And if I take the structure out of it and replace that with connection, not intentional structure, but intentional connection, then now my goal is to create opportunities where we bond, not structured things that they have to comply with. So instead of compliance, it's connection. Yes. I love that principle.
I love that. That's really, really good. Because we give you something heavy, and then I love how you came back with that connection. I love that. You're very structured in the school setting, which it needs to be based upon the curriculum. but then it's a little bit different at home, and that's okay, and that's all right. And that's kind of why I want to pose the questions. There's a lot of families, I know we made a lot of mistakes early on when we started having our kids about structure, and there's all this pressure that you feel, especially when you're young and you're starting out.
And that's very generational. Like, our parents were probably more strict too. At least mine were.
Yeah. And I love that, connection is the curriculum.
Yes.
I love that. Okay. Principle number 2.
Okay. Well, student dignity. Oh, well, going back on the generational, like, you do this because I said so kind of thing. Maybe ask them what they think. Involve them as much as you can. Safety is always the hard stop for me, but when I can be flexible at home, I will lay out my child's clothing and say, hey, do you want this one or this one? He'll probably pick the one in the closet because that's just how he is. But just being flexible with, okay, that sounds great. Things that you can, or having them choose what they want for breakfast. There's very simple things you can do instead of, I got you the cereal, eat it, we got to go. Come on, let's go. I've been there too, just to preface. But allowing them to have the little sprinkled autonomy naturally throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that's more of a sacrifice on our end as parents than theirs as kids. It's giving up our expectation, and realizing they have worth and value. It's funny, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I've always struggled with giving my kids an allowance because I don't want them to just have this entitled, I get something just because. And so we're going through an exercise right now in our home. It couldn't be more timely you bringing it up, where I'm letting my kids apply for a job.
Okay.
So I will hire them, and they will have duties and performance, and that could be chores and other things. And in exchange for that contract, I'm going to have them sign an actual employment contract.
Of course
you are. Listen, recovering contract attorney.
Recovering,
Contracts.
Implementing.
And then they will earn a wage, right? But what's been so interesting
be a
is
late fee.
I broached this idea to my kids, and they loved it. Like, I get to have a job. Like, I get to own it. What do I call my job? Like, well, you can create that. So they were filling out applications, and they're doing their strengths and weaknesses, and we're now getting ready for round 2, which is the interview. Wow. And they're all prepping to advocate and then to negotiate on certain points that maybe they want to adjust. And they're excited. And one of my youngest, Dad, can we meet every week to talk about how we're doing? I'm like, yes, son, that's called a performance review. And I'm shocked at what I thought was this structured thing to work. They're owning. And instead of me saying how you have to do it, so long as it gets done, right? And however they want to do that, it lets us both kind of have this role. So it's
that's kind of like play for older kids. Like, you gave them the buy-in because it was their idea, and you're doing it in a non-conventional way, similar to what we do at school, and just it's like play for big kids is how I look at it.
Yeah.
Well, and this common theme comes back, playing, how important it is just to play with your child. Yeah.
Yes.
How simple that is, that we don't really do all the time, or we don't take those opportunities. Or I think it's hard as parents, it's to sit back for a moment and identify those opportunities that you can have play rather than just boss them around all the time.
Sure.
And we say play a lot in the early years, but being playful is almost easier. There are some adults that it's hard to play. It's hard to get down on the floor and play, but sometimes just being silly and just laughing with your child is helpful as well. I did want to piggyback on the whole dignity side of the core principle, and I have a question for you guys.
Ooh, wait, hold on.
This might get a little deep.
You're the guest.
When, as a child, did you have parents that apologized to you as a child? Or was it...
No.
Me neither.
So my parents apologized to me.
If
Mom and Dad, I hope you're not listening.
And it's okay. That's kind of how parenting was back in the day. It was almost like, well, I am the parent. I'm the authority. And so one thing that I'm very intentional with as a mom is apologizing when I'm wrong, which sounds very simple, but it's hard when you're the authority and you're telling them, hey, this is how, I'm sorry, mommy got overwhelmed. I've said that many times, probably in the last week. But it's so, so important for all kids to hear, hey, I'm sorry, and model that. And that just gives them that dignity of, hey, I'm a person too, and my feelings matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and it models accountability.
Absolutely.
I love that.
See,
You know, it's funny that and I've heard this principle, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm still not going to understand it 10 minutes from now. But you can look at your kids, and they learn the things you're teaching them. And so if they're being standoffish and defiant, you have to step back and go, is that because I'm being authoritative and demanding? And am I empowering them with the tools I'm trying to weed out? Our approach oftentimes drives, and we're seeing that mirror of our parenting in our kids' reactions. And that's humbling. So yeah, taking accountability for treating them with dignity and owning up to our end is important.
well, and it's hard to, I know, like with my kids, they only get to see me in the afternoon. Like I see them in the morning before they go to school, and then they see me in the afternoon. In the afternoon, I'm usually tired, I'm worn out, I've had a busy day. And so like a tool that I do is when I drive home is I just take a moment. Because like for guys, it's happy. Like you kind of need a transition moment, right? Of like, okay, I've been, business Brad. Now I'm going to go home and be dad Brad, right? And so now when I'm in dad Brad mode, I have to like in a way transition. And so it's hard for parents to transition. So I have like a routine that I do. It's not always the same. It's not always perfect, but like I'll come home and I'll either like, I don't know, big for me is I like to get out of my business clothes and I get into my...
It's a whole phase change.
It is. It's like a phase change. So I get on my business clothes. I'm like, hey, Dad's here. Okay, hold on. Let me go get my normal clothes on. And once I change, that for me, it's like, I don't know if that's like, the Clark and Superman thing. I don't know, but it helps me transition. Okay. And then I transition in. I'm like, okay, now I'm in dad Brad mode. And then I can be a dad and I can play and have fun. And I think it's important as a parent to just take that moment and just like, okay, I need to transition. I need to transition myself, because if I come home being business Brad, they're not going to like business Brad, because business Brad is intense. I'm driven, and I'm gonna push them in that way, but I need to be dad Brad. So
I love that. I do something similar, but we do it as a family because I need to decompress when I get home too. And so I literally will say, all right, we're taking a break. I'll set even a timer for my kiddos for 10 minutes. And I don't care what they're doing as long as they're safe and in the home. But they can go do screen time. They can go sit and read a book. I will go read my book. And then we all come together and do something together. But we almost all, especially coming home from school, I'm sure lots of parents can relate, it can be very overwhelming for everyone. And so just allowing that time of no demands, go decompress, and then I'm not going to power through a bunch of questions, and I don't want a bunch of questions when I get home. And so just modeling and allowing that time.
I love it.
I love that idea, those transition moments. It's perfect.
So what
Principle 3, right? We still haven't done the third.
Principle 3.
So individualized instruction for home. So parents know their babies best. They get to, the fun thing about being at home is you can be flexible and you can follow their lead. They can leave an activity on the floor and not clean it up till later. They don't have to share their toys. Unless they have siblings. But most times they don't have to share at home as much. So just individualizing the day, which I think parents are, especially this generation of parents, are amazing at. There are so many fun activities out there for any preferred interest. And so, individualizing instruction for home, that's kind of tricky to think about.
It is. Why my mind goes to individualized discipline and even motivation methods, because they're all motivated and react to consequences differently. We were having a lesson with one of our boys recently and teaching the principle that fair is not equal and equal is not fair. Because the question is always, why does so-and-so get this? Yep. Why do they get that? Why... that understanding. And as a parent, sometimes it gets hard to navigate, and you tend to want to just fall back on the just because I said so.
Yes.
But that teaches our kids to not appreciate or look for answers and comprehension. So it's okay to parent different children differently.
Yes.
And it's okay to teach your kids why you do that and to give them the why behind the demand or the instruction.
Well, and I've noticed a lot with this generation. Like when we grew up, it was like, you did what I told you to do. Don't ask any questions. Just get it done.
Yeah.
But this generation, it's all about the why. They need to know the why.
And it's helpful. It's okay to tell your kid, I'm letting them play video games, but not you, because you get really aggressive and anxious when it happens for too long. And that's something we can work on, but that's why I'm giving you this rule here. And that's why it's different. And fair is not equal and equal is not fair. It's okay to educate them in that regard. And I think it's helpful. And it makes us as parents, I think, more intentional to even question ourselves, why am I putting this demand?
Yeah.
Is it for something else? And sometimes the answer is not about the kid, it's about us. It's because I need a break. And it's almost better to say, listen, the reason we're not doing this right now is I need a break.
Right. And it means something different when you say it out loud than if you intentionally do. When you do something, you're like, okay, I don't quite understand it. But if you say it out loud, you verbalize it, you're like, oh, okay, now I know why.
Yes.
So with all this wonderful information, Haley, like what would you recommend our parents? I mean, we've given them 3 principles, which is fantastic. Any kind of advice that you would want to give addition to our families that they can do at home for their little wonderful learners that can help them out?
Yeah, specific to the early years, or I don't know if teenagers would love this as much, but it sounds silly, but narrating what you're doing. It's not anything you need to prep for. Just while you're making dinner, oh, I'm going to put the pizza in the oven, and just talking about what you're doing. The more language they get, the better. My husband used to be so annoyed because I would narrate it because my son had a language delay, and I was like, I'm going to talk all day.
I don't know, I think of like Cinderella or, one of these
Snow
like
White just
Disney
singing to the birds. I hope it looked like that. I'm going to continue on that play wagon. Play is very important. There's this, it was my favorite, one of the driving factors of what I do. I learned it in college, and it was something like a child's brain needs 400 or so, don't quote me on this, repetitions to learn a new skill, unless it's done through play, which, get this, it's 20 to 40 times.
Oh, wow. So significant difference.
Significant. And play can be anything. It's so individualized for each kid. I tell my staff all the time, I'm not in the business of telling a kid how to play. They can play however they want, and we can meet them. Specific to even first grade last week, Miss Siri's class, they were learning how to wait, to write names, and to just have an exchange with their peers of listening and then responding. She turned her classroom into a Starbucks barista room. And it sounds silly for a first grade room, but they were so excited. We had little baristas writing names on the cups. We had them waiting in line better than I've ever seen it. We had customer service even in first grade, just saying thank you for coming. But making a simple order is tricky for any first grader, really. And so at first I was like, well, when are they ever going to go to Starbucks and order? But their mommies go and daddies go to Starbucks. And so it was really cool to just see something as simple as those small skills, such as waiting, conversations, writing your name, can be done through play, through something imaginative.
That's so cool. We've, my wife and I are kind of exploring this world of boundaries and development in kids and just even in adults. And you just plugged into something that I'd never really consciously thought of, and that is, when we were kids, we role play.
Yep.
We pretend we're cops and robbers, or we step into these shoes and we try our best to fill these roles. And in life we have roles. Yes, we want to be genuine, but how I am at work is different than how I am at home with my wife, or how I am with my boys, or how I'm with just peers on a guy's trip, or whatever that looks like. We have these roles we feel, and it's nice to give them the opportunity to step into a role and to be responsible for it, and to learn how to manage different boundaries and different roles and different applications. And that comes through play. It's, doing that role play actually extends to adult roles. And I had never made that connection. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And right now we have a vet clinic. Like, there's so many, the dramatic playroom, if anyone knows me, between STEM and dramatic play, those are my favorite spots of our building. And that's where you can find me.
I love the word dramatic play.
It is dramatic play. And anyone who's been in my class knows we love to change it out. It's a vet clinic one day, it's a firehouse another day. My favorite is camp out, and we're doing that in the next month. So that's where my brain is. But it's a really cool opportunity for them to be in a different world and just kind of escape the classroom for a little bit and have fun. And honestly, our staff love it just as much as the kids.
I'm sure.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Haley, for your time and all the great advice you've given our families and everything that you're doing at Starlight Behavior Academy. It's amazing to see. So wonderful job.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Thank you, everyone, for making us part of your day. Please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation that inspires connection. Also want to give a big shout out to Jesse Palmer, our producer, and our marketing director, Dallin Davis, for all their great work. Until next time, let's do some good.